Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How you guys doing? How are you guys doing? I was just over on Kumalot's stream, and we had an actual, like, PG-rated discussion, except for my profanity. I think I don't think there was any degenerate talk in there. Oh my God. We'll have to go back and fix that. We'll have to, if I could turn back time, we would do all the gay. No, sorry. We got to go back and fix that at some point. How you guys doing? Did you take an evening nap? No, I have not been home, except for like minutes at a time for the past couple days. So it's fucking crazy. Very, very much hectic schedule getting everything ready for the start of the school year. Plus, we have a family Bible camp that we go to every Labor Day weekend. And it's a family tradition that has existed since before we were actually married. And we've gone every year. I think I missed 1 year before we were married, or missed part of it. I got, that's what happened. Yeah, so every year we go to family Bible camp, Labor Day weekend. That's this weekend, obviously. And then next weekend, Lady Rackets and I have the art event we go to annually, which will be huge, different than normal, which is great because I'll talk about it in just a second. No, I'll talk about it now. So the art event is the guy who throws it is the guy who owns the original Hollywood sign. Used to be Hollywood Land. It was a real estate thing. When it collapsed, or well, it became too decrepit to keep up. They took it down. They built the new Hollywood sign. Kind of a long story that I won't tell. But anyway, the original sign just sat around a warehouse for like 30 years, 40 years, something like that. And then it passed hands a couple times. And now this guy owns it. And he's an artist. He's a sculptor primarily, but he also is a phenomenal painter. And he paints Hollywood icons on sections of the sign, because it's a bunch of these metal panels that the sign was constructed with. So he paints Hollywood icons on the sign, and that's it. They're really cool. But he hosts an art event every year. Lady Rackets and I have gone for the past couple years, 5 years or so, 6. I don't know. We love it. It's a great weekend for us. We get to dress up all fancy and go schmooze and rub elbows with interesting people. One of the guys I met there was a thing called in the first Thor movie that ended up being an Infinity Stone, that the thing the ice giants had that shoots the rays or whatever. The frost something. Do you guys know what that was? Does Dick Masterson go? No. No. He has no connection to this event at all. The Tesseract. Yeah. So one of the people I met at this one time is the guy who made the actual physical Tesseract. He's really cool. A guy named Jack Storms, and a phenomenal glasswork artist. You can find him on Instagram and stuff. Really amazing guy. If you like, he does this, he makes different glass things and then somehow shapes into them different patterns and shit so they catch light in different ways. Beautiful, beautiful work. But yeah, check out Jack Storms. Met him, super interesting guy. You know, I've met a bunch of different people from all walks of life at this place because it kind of come from all over the country and go, like, what it is at the end of the day is it's an art sales event. That's an art show, right? Buy art. But a bunch of people come in and hang out, and you drink and laugh and watch a show. They put on a live music performance every year, and you just have a good time. And so you run into interesting people there. But that's next week. So this weekend, family camp, that is our art show next weekend. And then we are headed, Lady Raggets and I are headed to Nashville ahead of the September 16th show, which, by the way, has links in the description. Actually, I think I have a hilarious typo on the Rumble description that I'm going to fix right now. Dumbass me. But yeah, so we will be headed to Nashville for the show on the September 16th, but we're going to be there early. We've got some people to meet up with. We've got some stuff to do ahead of the show, like on Thursday and Friday and Saturday ahead of the show as well. So we're going to be having a good time. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. But, we just got back from our big family vacation. So like trying to get everything ready is a disaster. Everybody wants to have a meeting. Everybody wants to have a meeting at everything that we do. And it's like, can you just email me so I can ignore it instead of ignoring it in person? Because I feel bad about that, right? But I hate meetings. I hate going to things and sitting there because I can read fairly quickly, but you can't listen quickly. It's not a real thing. But yeah, so we're doing, we've got that very busy schedule, all the while getting our kids ready for all of their school time activities and homeschooling that's coming up. And I just never know how we do it at all. I don't know how we do it, but it's basically just being gone from your house all the time. Come back for 10 minutes at a time, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, drop off a kid, pick up a different kid, grab everybody, go to a meeting, get back, do a show, do another show. I was just on with Camelot. Like I said, always a pleasure to be on Camelot's stream. If you didn't get a chance to check it out, go check it out. Like I said, zero degeneracy in his streams, which that's usually where I get to my quota of degeneracy, and I didn't. So RIP, I guess, for that. But it was a fun show nonetheless. Really enjoyed talking to him. I do actually really like talking to him with less of the degeneracy, because I mentioned this before. It's really easy to kind of fall into like the comfort of shocking jokes or stories, right? Like they're easy to tell and they get big reactions and stuff. But sometimes you just want to talk to people about things that aren't that. And I love talking to Camelot about normal shit too. So that was a really fun show to do that. On. So it was good. We've got several topics tonight, and there may be a couple more. It kind of depends on how it goes and how I feel. Because the other night I was like, oh man, I got these topics. It was really going to take 2 hours. It was like 4.5. So as I ramble through this, it could be, I have no idea how long the show's going to be. But I've got main topics picked out, and I have some couple supplemental ones. We'll see after the show. There will be, of course, a locals live stream. Not 100% sure what we're doing. I might do a cigar stream. Outside. Because I think it's a nice night, isn't it? What the fuck? What temp is it? What temp is it outside? 68 degrees. Might be a cigar stream. We'll see. But I love chatting with my locals peoples, having a nice little puff on a cigar, and which I'm kind of mixed on cigars. How about you guys? So I like them. They're fun. They give you a nice little rush, a little buzz, a little head swim. Good, right? But your mouth tastes fucking terrible the next day for like the whole day. Is there a remedy for this? Like, cause I'll brush my teeth like 5 times. I'll do mouthwash. I'll try drinking like milk or something. Like, I can't figure out how to make my mouth not taste like the cigar. So if anybody has any ideas, a tongue scraper, I have a toothbrush with the little textured back that you do that on. It doesn't really help. More whiskey, I do that. So maybe we'll try. That's the one thing that I don't like about cigars. Like, don't get me wrong, the smell of a cigar, if you're smoking it, is great. Smell of cigar, like when you're not into it, that it can be really strong and pungent, and people don't like. I don't like being around other people smoking cigars if I'm not, because like it's a pretty powerful smell. So I'm not a big fan of that, but like I can deal with it. But the mouth taste is just fucking awful. Don't smoke. Ellie, what's wrong with you? First the shorts and now this. Just gross. Just gross. All right. Okay. Poor Lady Rackets. Yeah. Hey, smells like cigarettes. Anyway, so the topics we have today, as a preview, FIRE, which is a free speech advocacy organization, started off with free speech on college campuses, and then has expanded to general free speech stuff. FIRE lost a major appeal on a victory I've mentioned before. So they challenged one of the lawyer rules of professional conduct, one of the model rules by the ABA. The American Bar Association has model rules of professional conduct, and then those rules are adopted and then adapted by individual states. In this case, the rule in question is 8.4G, if I remember right. And I should know it because it is the root of almost all of the complaints that I get from people when I get an ethics complaint. And it is really a curtailment of attorney speech. By the way, welcome to Camelot Raiders, and big shout out to my good friend, Good Logic, for rating the channel as well. Welcome, Good Logic viewers. You are in for some weird topics tonight, but good ones. Weird, but good. So they had won in getting Rule 8.4G struck down because it was an impermissible infringement on free speech of attorneys. The rule basically says, and we'll go through all this in depth as we get into the story, but the rule basically says you cannot manifest a bias or harassment based on someone's protected characteristics, race, national origin, all that stuff, right? The normal civil stuff. And so some attorneys are very afraid that will be applied to them if they say something that is perceived in the current climate as racist, which of course it will. It is all the time, but it's not always enforced. That's the thing. It's been used against me something like 40 times, I think 35 to 40 times. But it has never been enforced against me. But it is a question like, does this rule chill your right to speak freely? Can they discipline you for it? And I mean, they always can. You'd have to then fight it afterwards. So they had initially gotten this struck down, but on appeal, it was actually brought back, which is bad news. Bad appeals court. Bad appeals court. So we're going to talk about that. You guys know that free speech is one of my passions. It's one of the things I think is most important to a good society, is the right to speak our minds about anything and everything. My thoughts on the curtailment of speech are very, very minimal curtailment of speech, as far as, I guess threats of violence and then things like child pornography. Obviously I'm opposed to that. That's not what people, I mean, it is considered speech and expression. So I don't want to downplay that. But when people conceptualize free speech, what they're usually conceptualizing is what we say, what we write, right? Like words, ideas, thoughts, concepts. Now, again, child pornography is under the auspices of free speech, and I'm perfectly fine curtailing that in all aspects. But I'm more talking about just what we say, what we emote, and what we write being critical to a free society. The protection of that to the maximum extent. And there are very few things that I think you should be able to be punished for saying. In fact, I mean, one of the weird questions we have is some of these people are being punished for quote unquote threatening judges or quote unquote threatening Joe Biden. And I say quote unquote because we're often relying on the interpretation of a government official who is interested in jailing someone. And so certainly are there direct threats that tip the scales and should be and are actionable under the law? Yes. Should they be actionable under the law? Maybe. But is every instance in which they're prosecuted actionable under the law? I don't think so. And I think that's one of the problems that I have with them. They do tend to lump protected activity with unprotected activity. And you're relying on someone who's a government agent to make the decision on whether or not, like, what the meaning behind the words is. Was there satire? Was there intent? Was there any idea that this would be communicated to the person? All those considerations are made by a government agent. I don't trust government agents in general. So we're going to talk about that. Again, this is, to me, an infringement on free speech. And there's some like hand-washing explanations as to why they brought it back. I don't agree with them. But we'll talk about it. I think it's a pretty fucking interesting topic. And it matters because on the other side of this case, you have lawyers arguing to restrict their own speech. And so when you think about it, you think conceptually, okay, we have one organization that says we don't want lawyers punished for racist speech. And then you've got a lawyer on the other side who says, we do, though. Well, I'm guessing that you could probably gather something about the ideology of the other lawyer, right? Of at least the defending lawyer. And I cannot imagine being someone who says, actually, though, I want to restrict attorney speech. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Seems stupid to me. But hey, not all attorneys are smart. So we've got that. Michelle Obama, trans, Don Jr. out there driving the media fucking crazy by saying that Michelle Obama has a penis. Oh, boy. Whoa. Okay. All right. Very funny. So we got to talk about that. And of course, they're furious at this. Fucking unreal how mad they are. Oh, that's great. Then we've got Rudy Giuliani is guilty of defamation of 2 Georgia election workers. Of course, as with most things, the story is not that simple. There's no analysis on the facts of whether or not Rudy Giuliani is guilty of defamation, but he's been found guilty because of a sanction for failure to comply with discovery. So we'll talk about that, what that means for him, what these sanctions are and why they're meted out, what the case was here as far as we can tell. Pretty interesting situation there, because again, this is all about the persecution and prosecution of anyone who questioned the election. And some people, this is a free speech issue as well. And this one I think is really, this is a critical juncture in America, because if you're not allowed at a high level, right? You and I, anybody you know, you can question the election. Like, the police aren't going to come to your house and be like, heard you question the election, right? Like, they're not going to arrest you. 1 second. What? Hold on. What's up? You want a hug? Just a second, guys. All right. Tell your siblings to go to the bathroom, go to bed. All right. Anyway. So this is a free speech issue too, because like your neighbors, you, whatever, guy at work, we can question the election. You too, huh? Are you getting a hug too? All right, come here. Give me a hug. Get out of here, cutie. Go. Hey. All right. Hey, close my door, nerd. Bye. That's my little angel. The other one who came in first was the murderer. But those are my two youngest, and I like them a little bit. So okay, your neighbor, you, the guy at work, you can question the election without getting like criminal charges or whatever. So we all have free speech. But who can't question the election? Anyone with any ability to challenge it cannot. They are being punished dramatically. Now, you might be punished in your social circles. You may be punished on social media, all of that, right? Like you for a while, you couldn't say much of anything about it on YouTube. You get kicked off. But from the government, now, though, anybody who facilitated questioning or a challenge to the election are being punished at the highest level, criminal charges. How is the populace supposed to have faith in a government that can't question its own processes? How are we supposed to have a society built on the right to demand redress of grievances from government if you can't do it because you go to prison or you get civilly sued? So this is a case of two election workers where Rudy Giuliani said they were passing around USB drives like they were crack or heroin or whatever, which is very funny to say, but that's the nature of the case. And that was ruled to be defamation. I think he had some video of it, but it was quote unquote proven to be not true, whatever that means. But this isn't the basis of the lawsuit, or this isn't the basis of the ruling in the lawsuit. Ruling was actually a default judgment. So we'll get to that as well. And then finally, someone is mad at the internet. Someone is mad at the internet, and it makes me a little bit sad. But hey, we got to talk about it, which is very interesting because if you talk about something, that means that you're mad at the internet. So this is how I know someone is mad. But at the end of the day, the person who's upset is a good kid. I like him. Don't hold any ill will towards him. So we'll talk about that. We'll get into that later in the show on Rumble exclusively. But it's a very frustrating situation. And I'm sure some of you have seen something about it, and that's fine. You can take my words or leave them as you will, as with anything. But I think some things are not being communicated accurately, and this is not the first time that that's happened, and it's not the first time it's happened recently. In fact, it seems to be becoming a more common issue, which again makes me very, very sad about it. But we'll talk about it. All in good nature and good mirth, of course, because you can't actually be angry with this shit. It's so fucking weird. Like everybody is so goddamn weird these days, and everybody's on edge about everything. Have you noticed a general tension with everybody and everything? I don't know, but we'll talk about it, and that'll be that. It'll be great. With that, let's hit the super chats and then jump into this. Oh, tomorrow on the show, Ty Beard will be joining the show tomorrow. It's been a long time since I've been able to talk to Ty. He's been a pretty busy guy, and our schedules have just not lined up. But finally, our periods are in sync, and we get to commiserate together. No, we have a quasi tradition where when Ty goes to some sort of convention, usually because he has like a night like alone, he doesn't have to get up and go to work and all that stuff. He comes on the show and we just have a good chat. So it'd be a nice time to catch up with Ty Beard, and we'll have a good time with that. And I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about yet, but there's plenty in the world to talk about. And Ty's a very fun guest and a good friend. So we'll do that. All right. Let's see. USSJ4 Broly says, save chat for when it best suits the show. Here we go. Well, I'll just do it now. Now's the best time. We know you and your family have stressful times lately, even if it's Melanie retarded. Melon Lee retarded. Just know you have massive community behind you and your family. Cheers, good sir. Hug that family of yours, which I just did. I just did. It was great. No, I know. I know. Most of our stress is just logistically related, honestly. I can't show you my calendar in detail, but let me do this real quick. I think this can help kind of illustrate it, and it won't like dox anything. Hold on. Okay, so here's September. I have to do it this way, but here's September. All of those lines are things, and each day actually has 4 to 6 additional lines on it, right? Like every day, it's just fucking loaded with stuff. That means someone has to drive somebody somewhere. So, unfortunately, because all of those things have descriptors on them, I can't like show you more detail, but it's just constant all day, every day stuff. So that gets very stressful because you got to get kids places. It really constricts the time that you have to do stuff that you need to do as well. So it's a mess. You don't feel bad for anyone who vacations as much as me. I didn't ask you to feel bad for me. It's just telling you what my family's stress is related to. It's mostly logistics. That's just how it goes. It's what we signed up for, of course. Homeschooling 5 children is work. It's a lot of work. It's the way it is. So let's see. We've got that. We've got 6079 Smith W. Welcome to Paralegal Status. Master Lion says, hi, everyone. Alyssa K says, TheraBreath mouthwash specifically works every time. I will look for that, Melissa. Thank you. And David Hunt, this is on topic. He says, if working physical labor, how do I safely do the no food diet? And by on topic, I mean not at all, but very important for people to understand the no food diet. Look, if you're working physical labor, you should eat. The don't eat advice, first of all, is hyperbolic. You need to eat something during the day. But the trick is to eat considerably less than you're eating. If you're struggling with weight loss, eat less and not like a little bit. Where a lot of people have issues with eating is they're snacking. You're snacking, you're having sodas, you're having coffees, you're adding these calories throughout the day. That's weight. It translates to weight. At the end of the day, that's what it does. So you got to cut the snacks out. Because if you're like, well, I cut a meal, but you're still snacking or you're compensating by snacking, you're still making up those calories. For me, I used to, while driving around town before I worked from home, I used to get these 2 packs of Snickers. It's like 2 Snickers bars, right? The share pack. And you eat those 2. Well, that's like 450 calories. I just eat them driving around. I'd still eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, all of those things. But then you add that in. And then you add in a soda or, an ice cream or whatever you do during the day. And it just stacks up. And if you're eating out, in America, your meals are fucking 900 to 1500 calories. And that's if you get a normal meal. So, you just end up consuming a lot more than you need to. Also, the 2000 calorie diet thing is a myth for a lot of people on one side or the other of that. The bigger you are, the more calories you need to sustain your body weight. And the smaller you are, the less, right? Lots of women can eat, lots of women at ideal weights can eat, I think it's like 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day is it. And if you eat more than that, you will gain weight. And then, lots of guys don't need 2,000 calories either. But if you're working a physical labor job, you have to eat. Like you have to have protein. You have to have shit to help your body recover from the physical strain. But you need to eat less and you need to cut snacking out of your diets if you're trying to lose weight. But this is a simple math formula. If you're gaining weight, you're eating too much. If you don't want to gain weight, like if you're bulking or whatever, you're going to the gym, you're working out, you're trying to build muscle and you're gaining weight, that's your goal. If you're gaining weight though, and you don't want to, you're eating too much. So eat less. Simple solutions for you guys. It's really easy. The hard part is implementing it. But yeah, brother. I mean, obviously, eat, get your recovery in, but don't waste your fucking calories during the day. Plan it out. Plan it out. Okay. So let's here we go. Let's see. We've got Missy says, Ricada Law, knock one back for me. Today is my birthday, turning 56. Hell yeah. How smashed do I want to be? Do you look fat in this dress? Yes. Now, of course, you have to realize that at different points in your life, your metabolic system is going to be different as well. Up until I was about 33, I had severe troubles gaining weight. I could eat 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. Around 33, things kind of slowed down a little bit. But a whole bunch of stuff happened around then too. I was moving around less during the day. I was my lifestyle was adjusting into more sedentary life. And so I needed to eat less. Also, my metabolism slowed down. That's just how it goes. When you're younger, you can eat a shitload more. And that's what trips up a lot of people too. And the problem is their metabolism slows down. They don't catch it very early. They gain the weight, and then it's really hard to take it off because you're having to adjust your habits in retrospect. And that's not fun. Misty, happy 56th birthday. Thank you for being a great supporter of the show for such a long time. Always a pleasure to chat with you when we do the call-in shows. I hope you have a fantastic birthday and enjoy every single year of aging, just like a fine wine. Cheers. And Lucifer, Love Monkey, I'll talk about Medicare in a second, because I think that's a very important announcement. Mentioned it on Camelot Show, and I'm definitely going to mention it in a second here. Fire PA 498 says, just wanted to send some shekels to support fellow locals peep Zeno, who started a Twitch channel to stream mad Tetris skills. Check it out sometimes, folks. And that's twitch.tv/Zeno, XINO_Z_. So cheers to Zeno. I wish her nothing but success on Tetris. And then Aussie Overlord says, Ricada Law, I'm less worried about the cops knocking on the door than banks freezing accounts for speech online. Yes. Yes. And that is terrifying. From 1st of November, one of the U.S.-backed banks here are updating their policies to allow indefinite freezing of accounts if an account holder or a transaction may break Australian law or the law of another country, including for defamation and misinformation, posted online about the account, that the account was used to facilitate it, super chats, and paying for website hosting and domains, etc. ESG is coming. Yes, ESG, well, ESG is here. It's ramping up. Now, perhaps in a good note, I read an article that ESG is also struggling and becoming less and less popular. Now, that could be like a ruse, of course. That could be a ruse. It could be one of those articles oh, don't worry about ESG. But it also could be the reality of ESG is maximizing its influence as it's about to wane. It's the pendulum, right? The cornered animal is always the most deadly before it loses its potency because you kill it or whatever. So hopefully it's that one. Hopefully this is the death rattle of the ESG. But I don't know, man. It is fucking terrifying. And yes, I've been talking for years about the fucking banks, because it's the banks. It's access to trade. It's access to monetize your own labor, because you will work either way. But if a bank doesn't allow you to transact, there's not much you can do about it. And really, people say, oh, have cash. Well, the banks can actually go further. They can prevent stores or services that you use from servicing you under the threat that they'll stop service for the entire business. And the ability to transact needs to be protected. And really, it wouldn't be a popular platform because most people don't understand this. You have to be an internet degenerate to understand how fucking fragile the ability to transact is. You have to know people who have been shut out of banking, had their accounts closed or frozen, had the ability to buy things turned off. If you don't know people that have done that, you don't know this is going on. But it really needs to be a Republican Party priority or a Democrat Party priority, by the way. It needs to be a priority to make sure everyone is able to do business, that banks cannot restrict the flow of business based on political opinion or any of that shit. They all have way too much power and influence over that. Okay. So I think that's the beginning of the show. Let's jump into this fucking topic. Should we do that? Should we talk about what I'm actually talking about? This is the story of a girl. Here we go. All right, I gotta pull this up. Continue without supporting you, Reuters, fucking losers. Okay, here we go. Oh, yes. Before we do that, though, this show is not sponsored or endorsed in any way. Buy it. But please, tomorrow, if you have any interest in the man, Jim, Mr. Medicare, Hal, the weatherman, is streaming again. He had retired from streaming. He has been very, very sick, terminally sick, and had retired from streaming. Was not going to do anymore. However, has discovered some new shit with his illness. His body is degenerating, and apparently he effectively needs to raise money. He needs to raise money. So he, rather than just beg for it, he's going to do a show, hope people show up and do that. He's going to reopen his merch store for a little while and make money on it. So he made a post about it on the Fediverse, essentially saying, look, he's got his back's like degenerating or something along. I don't know what cancer AIDS he has, but he says that his back is degenerating. Mobility is really becoming a problem, and he effectively has to install a bunch of mobility assistance in his house, handrails and shit like that, so he'll be able to move around freely and jerk off in his hentai tub or whatever he's going to do. But look, I've always looked up to Medicare. He's had the unique ability to laugh at pretty much everything on the internet. And not do it in a hateful way, but a comedic way, always in good nature. He may despise various people he laughs at. I don't know. You can't tell because he's just laughing so fucking hard at how ridiculous it is. He's always had kind of the best perspective on the internet. And he's someone that I think the internet very much needs. And so if you can, show up to his stream tomorrow. If he's someone you followed throughout the years, been influenced by, if you followed me or, so many people that I associate with, they've all been influenced by Medicare in some way or another. So the entertainment community that you engage in exists in part in the way it does because of him. And he was always relatively drama free, despite laughing at people. I think they were really scared about his incisive criticism that they would face if they did go against him or whatever. You never want to be made fun of by Jim because he's fucking great at it. But I didn't notice him to be spiteful or vindictive. If you needed making fun of, he made fun of you. He's made fun of me plenty of times, which is great. I usually laugh. It's usually funny. So check him out tomorrow because he really is. He's a thing the internet needs, doesn't deserve, and will really never get again once he's gone. So that is tomorrow. I think it's at 7 p.m. Central, something like that. But yeah, it's too bad. Too bad. But I wish Jim well. I really hate that. I hate that we lose someone like Jim to fucking illness because there's so many other people in line in front of him that would be better suited for it. Whoa. Are we allowed to say that? Karen Miche says, I can't. Karen, I got to save that for Rumble. Sally has a GoFundMe here that I'm going to share real quick. Sally from my locals communities, her son the other day, his best friend died. The details are very tragic, very young guy. he was killed. I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about it. I don't know. But it was an accident. He has passed away. And so there's a GoFundMe for the family. They're not a well-off family, and a sudden funeral is obviously very much an issue. So I'm gonna do one thing I normally I do when there's a thing. So here is the GoFundMe. I'm gonna share it in every chat that I have. So we'll do that, and I am actually going to contribute to it on the show here because I don't ask people to actually contribute to stuff unless I know it's real, can do my best to verify it. And when I do, I contribute. I make myself the example. I say, hey, I'm willing to give money to this thing. I believe this is a real thing. And it's kind of my way of stamping. A lot of people ask me to share GoFundMes, and I don't know anything about them. This one I know a little bit about, and I know the person who's sharing it. I know Sally, and this is losing anyone in your life is always traumatic. Obviously this is her son's friend, and he's going to be hurting. And if we can show a little love to them, I would really appreciate that. So I'm going to donate real quick, and then I'll show my donation. And then if you guys want to donate too, it's always appreciated for that. But do this real quick. Okay, here we go. Come on, thing. Let's do it. Here we go. Finish sharing. I don't post comments. I don't need to sign in. I have an account. I guess I didn't donate through my account, but my name's on it, so it's fine. So here we go. I'll bring it back so you guys can see. See, I dropped a donation here from Nick Ricada, so you guys can see that it is something that I'm personally endorsing. I don't ask people to. I'm free to share whatever, but I'll normally caution. I don't know anything about this. This one I know a little bit about. I trust it. So if you guys feel like donating, it would be wonderful to help out this family a little bit. So. All right, with that, we are now going to talk about this U.S. Appeals Court rejecting a free speech challenge to the attorney bias rule is the headline on Reuters. So thank you for clicking finally. And yeah, one other thing, guys, if you can't donate, you're not in a place to donate or whatever, or you just don't like donating money to things, really, it helps so much if you share it. I know it's weird, but sharing it is huge. Because oftentimes GoFundMe is the hard part, is getting the word out. So yeah, if you can share it, even if you don't want to donate, but you want to help out, that's really appreciated. Okay, here we go. Here we go. A U.S. Appeals Court rejects free speech challenge to attorney bias rule. We'll get into the background here. A U.S. Court of Appeals on Tuesday revived a Pennsylvania anti-harassment and anti-discrimination professional rule for lawyers, rejecting a lawsuit that challenged the rule as unconstitutional. Let's pull up the rule. Pennsylvania rules of professional conduct or so here we go. Here is the rule, and we'll hit this. So it's 8.4G. It is professional misconduct for a lawyer too, and then A through G. In the practice of law, knowingly engage in conduct constituting harassment or discrimination based upon race, sex, gender identity or expression, religion, national origin, ethnicity, disability, age, sexual orientation, marital status, or socioeconomic status. This paragraph does not limit the ability of the lawyer to accept, decline, or withdraw from representation in accordance with Rule 1.16. Paragraph does not preclude advice or advocacy consistent with these rules. So there's some caveats and qualifiers on it, right? Like it says, oh, it's within the practice of law. You can still refuse to accept representation. You can do that. You can do that. You can do that. Kind of though. If you do refuse the same group of people, right, over and over, like if you just don't take any cases from black people, and they can show that you take all the other cases, but not that, you will run afoul of this rule. You will. You have the ability to reject individual cases, which is, this is a consistent thing with most things we see. You have the ability to refuse business to anyone for any reason, except if that reason consistently produces a result that shows discrimination, right? Like, wow, everyone you refuse business to is Mexican. Well, sorry, that will eventually, if they can prove it, they can overcome your right to refuse business. It's a weird factor. It's obviously opposed to free market economics, but that's what it is. Since Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the 14th Amendment, this has been building up in our country. Awig says, so a lawyer can't reject clients that won't/can't pay. No, you can reject clients that won't/can't pay, but actually, your reason for severing representation is not or cannot be that they can't pay once you have engaged them. It has to be something else. And usually the pretextual revocation of representation or withdrawal is breakdown in attorney-client communications, which does happen when they can't pay, by the way. Like if they're not paying you, like that's how it goes. But that's a lot of times how it'll be worded or the kind of guise that they'll do it under. But technically, if you're like, Judge, they can't pay me, they'd be like, stay on the fucking case, you loser. You decided to do this. So that's how it goes. But yeah, the long and short here is this is a curtailment on speech. Now, it says in the practice of law, but the practice of law is broader than just being in court, right? You give people advice. What if you give a business owner advice that he doesn't have to service the trans community, for example? No Michelle Obama's in your store. Well, now you've got gender identity or expression. You've got jokes about other stuff. You have that. And so now is he engaging in that conduct constituting harassment? It says you can't preclude advice or advocacy consistent with these rules, but that one's necessarily inconsistent. So now, do you know, like, what is it? Have you done this? This is the chilling effect. What advice can I give? How can I talk about this? What can I say in court? Can you quote your client if your client was racist? I don't know. Can you cross-examine very heavily? This is a good question. How heavily, how hard can you go on cross-examination if your client may be racist and all of the witnesses against him are of a particular race? Can you go after them? Can you challenge them on the same things your client says about them? I don't know. This is the problem with speech rules, right? This is the problem with them. So they challenged this rule. They got it struck down. And now the appeals court has brought it back. And they have some excuses as to why. For the record, I think that this rule is grossly unconstitutional. And more importantly, it says in the practice of law, but ethics complaints come outside of the practice of law all the time. Like I said, many complaints directed at me have cited this rule specifically. And it's the same thing in Minnesota in the practice of law. But they're like, hey, he's talking about law on his show. And then he says X, Y, Z. Even though you guys know me, I don't have a hateful bone in my body for anybody. I love diversity. I just need you to be black and a female. Like, I don't give a shit. I understand it. I understand people's aversion to various races or things based on their life experiences. And I don't think that necessarily makes someone a terrible person, even when I disagree with them, because I'm not in their shoes. I don't know what brought them their ideas. I mean, if if you've suffered at the hands of a particular group of people, who am I to say that suffering and your emotions behind it are invalid? I'm not there. Like, I can't do that logically. So for me, I get it, but I don't feel the same way. But I'm not in control of other people's thoughts or feelings. I don't care what you think. You're all people to me. So I don't unperson someone for their beliefs. And I really do think part of the reaction that we're seeing on the right generally towards how the left has been treating them in media and in politics for the past, really ramped up for the past decade in the reign of Obama, is this idea that for their ideas, for their thoughts, for their words, they're being treated not as people, but as monsters. They're being unpersoned. They're being delisted. They're being removed from various spaces, places, jobs. And they don't think that's fair. Because to someone who doesn't like a group of people, they tend to have a reason that they perceive as rational. Whether or not it isn't really relevant to them. Like, if it's rational to me or you, doesn't matter. But it certainly matters to them. And so you have this thing where they're being consistently depersoned. And when that happens, it solidifies their beliefs. It doesn't fix them. Ostracism doesn't cure your problem with their thing. It reinforces it. They're now martyred for their beliefs. And so for me, I don't unperson people generally. Like, it's not a thing that I know how to do. And I think that's why so many people kind of on the right and the fringes have throughout the years follow my show. And sometimes they kind of get frustrated when they find I don't hold the exact same opinion on groups of people, which is fine. But they find a little comfort in the fact that they can be somewhere, they can say whatever they want. And like, I'll still treat them as people at the end of the day, even if I disagree with them. So it's kind of a weird thing, but that's been a facet of the past several years of my life and watching that happen. But with all that said, I mean, people come after me for this all the time, and I'm generally just fucking joking. Like, I'm just telling a joke, and someone's like, "Oh my God, he hates blacks." And I'm like, okay. All right. So they revived the Pennsylvania anti-harassment, anti-discrimination professional rule for lawyers, rejecting a lawsuit that challenged the rule as unconstitutional, reversing a federal judge's decision. The Third Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals said that Zachary Greenberg, an attorney with the nonprofit Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, had not shown that the professional conduct rule threatened his free speech rights. This is the argument, right? Now, he has a little bit different scenario than me. Maybe I would have been a better candidate. I don't know. But his is good. It's a good argument. So here we got it. Greenberg's free speech claim is not objectively reasonable or cannot be fairly traced to the rule, the court said. I disagree, ordering his case dismissed for lack of standing. The Pennsylvania rule, which is modeled after the American Bar Association rule, prohibits lawyers from knowingly engaging, quote, in conduct constituting harassment or discrimination based on race, sex, religion, and other grounds. Greenberg claimed he risked violating the rule because of presentations he gives about offensive and derogatory language. But the Third Circuit panel said the rule does not arguably prohibit anything Greenberg plans to do. Now, Greenberg is a softball hateful monster, right? He does presentations on hate speech, which will necessarily include hate speech. But his position is that he is not engaging in it. However, it tamps down his ability to do it, to do the presentation, because someone could take the words from the presentation and assign them to him, even though it's in an educational context. I'm different, right? Like, I tell a joke that might be racist or whatever. We'll get to one on the show, I'm sure, if we can find it. Maybe a black person will steal it before I tell it. I don't know. It's in my garage, and they're very good at slipping into locked spaces for some reason. Probably because they move at night and you can't see them. No, so like, you might say like a racist joke or whatever. Who fucking cares? Well, people care, and they report you for ethics shit all the time. And you always wonder if the ethics committee is going to say, yeah, not in the practice of law, or yeah, that's a joke. Get over it. Not actually discriminatory. It's not in a case. It's not while representing a client. I'm grateful every time that they do. But what if they say, nah, well, we do think this is within the practice of law. You're talking about legal issues. People might take advice or take heed of it. And more importantly, what you're manifesting, and this is what we're really worried about as lawyers. Not me so much, because I don't practice law very much at all. Like, I try to avoid it dramatically and been pretty good at saying no lately. Used to be really bad at it. But what we would be worried about if I were like in the active practice of law is that you would say something and the ethics committee would rule that your offensive speech manifested a bias or a discrimination that would be communicated to the offended community that would show that you are not capable of acting in an unbiased manner towards them. Deeply Catholic lawyers have trouble with this, right? Like, because they advocate against gay marriage, for example, or trans issues. But yet they would represent someone, but now an ethics committee might say, yeah, you can't. You've said this stuff about traditional marriage being the preferred thing. How can you possibly not be discriminating against the gays when you do that? That's the thing that most lawyers are concerned about. You cannot have your personal beliefs and you cannot express them even outside the course of your conduct, because it could be linked to your practice of law even when you don't want it to. That's the concern. It's overbroad. I think it should be gone entirely. Like, I think if I'm in representation, I'm zealously representing my client. Like, I should be able to call the other party whatever name I want. I should be able to say whatever the fuck I want if I think that's the right move for the client. But they disagree on that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about shit outside of that can be imputed to your representation. And that, again, is based on what people do to me. Now, I'm an asshole who doesn't care. And thank God I'm not taking any clients, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But I do worry about it because I worked really fucking hard to become an attorney, to pass the bar, to maintain my license, to do all those things. And so I certainly don't want some bitch taking it away because she's fat and got mad at a joke I made. Like, I don't want that. But that's the worry. For other lawyers, it's more grave. Imagine everything you do to provide for yourself and your family hinging on that license. And if it goes away, you're fucked. You're done. That's terrifying. Let's see. We got Matthew Self says, here is some dinero for Fight Milk or whatever. Anyway, Southern Louisiana has wild marsh fires going on. Air quality is shit, and it seems to not be contained yet. This hasn't happened since 2017. This drought is bonkers. Dude, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Three Beer Thunder says ethics complaints should be solved with trial by combat. I 100% agree with you. Justin Waddle says, hey, Nick, it's my birthday today, turning 34, and life is going well. Thank you for all for last year and your streams being funny and insightful. My pleasure. Thank you for the high praise there. Two Eye Strong says, I hope someone streams your stand-up, you shyster. I will try and stream it. If you guys have not heard, the worst decision ever has been made. I will be opening for Chrissy Mayer in my debut and probably final stand-up comedy session on October 21st here in Minnesota. She'll be in Sartell, Minnesota. If you're around, come check it out. I will try and schedule a local Minnesota meetup around that event as well. But if you have the ability to come out and do and watch a show, it should be a disaster. I'm going to fucking bomb harder than ISIS, my friend. Like, see, not funny at all. What's a funny bomb joke? If you strap a bomb to a baby, the good thing is 73% of black fathers won't die in the explosion. See? That's a good bomb joke. Is that a good bomb joke? I have to wait for you guys to hear it. Tell me how you feel about that one. Needs better delivery. Yeah. Never mind. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be bad, but that's the whole thing. I am set up to be the guy who isn't funny. I'm going to be the guy who introduces Chrissy. So the person who introduces the actual comic is usually not funny. So I have a great excuse. If I fuck up and it's not funny, it's expected. If I'm funnier than Chrissy, then it's hilarious. Hilarious. But yeah. Let's oh yeah, back to this thing. Sorry, I got distracted by myself. We've got Tyler Reeves, 33 months. Thank you for being a strong member. Thank you for having a strong member that I can hold on to. He claimed to risk violating the rule because of presentations he gives about offensive and derogatory language. Third Circuit panel says the rule does not arguably prohibit anything he plans to do. The rule covers only knowing or intentional harassment or discrimination against a person. That's not how the rule is worded at all, by the way. The panel said nothing in Greenberg's planned speeches comes close to meeting the standard. But let's stop for a moment. Don't I have a free speech right to discriminate and quote unquote harass? Now, obviously, there is a level of harassment that is deemed criminal or even civil. Typically, what that involves is a repeated behavior that is not expressive behavior. It's what the fuck? It's not expressive behavior. It is just how do I word this? It's like calling someone over and over again, right? Like it's delivering mail to them in droves and setting them up for email lists. And you typically have to inform the person that you don't want that to happen before you'll have the basis for something to happen to them for recourse. It's harassing behavior in the sense of harassing someone, making them annoyed, uncomfortable, unable to enjoy their day. The harassing they might be talking about, intentional harassment, because they're talking in a speech context, is saying something offensive to a person. Why can't I do that? Why can't I discriminate against a person? That's a weird thing. We should have a free speech right to discriminate. Now, I've said a million times, I don't discriminate against people because I like money. Any business I run would be open to everyone. Even if I think that in principle, people should be able to refuse for any reason, including being racist or whatever. Like, I don't care. I don't want to force a business that hates me to do business with me. I don't think I'm going to get a good thing, good product, good pricing, good service. I'm not going to get it. So I don't want that. That being said, why can't I discriminate? And why can't I harass through offensive speech? Now, obviously, again, there are behaviors that constitute harassment. And those behaviors are punished because those aren't speech. It's not expression. Making someone's phone ring every 8 seconds for 2 hours isn't expressive behavior. You're not communicating an idea. You're just being a dick. And you're doing so through action. The actions are punishable. Speech is not. The content of the message would likely not be punishable unless it was a threat. So again, why are we doing this? Why is this okay? I disagree with this ruling. That's a big reason why. Greenberg's counsel, Adam Schulman of the Hamilton Lincoln Law Institute, said in an email they were still evaluating the decision, but said the third court ruled on a narrower rule than what we sued on and the district court ruled on. That's true. Remember, this knowing or intentional harassment or discrimination against a person is not written in Rule 8.4. So this is much narrower than what they're talking about. And if the court or if the rules enforcement is limited to that, well, then that's not that big of a deal. That's not that bad. It is in some ways a victory in narrowing the rule, but I don't necessarily believe them. And that's the ultimate problem. I don't believe them that that's the limit of the rule, but that's what they say for now. The narrow interpretation achieves what we were hoping to achieve if Pennsylvania abides by it. So he's got it too. If Pennsylvania abides by it, I think we might see an appeal to the Supreme Court on this, but I don't know that the Supreme Court will take this up unless other circuits take up these cases as well. And Fire had actually reached out to me at one point to discuss the potential of me being a plaintiff in a lawsuit like this in Minnesota. And I'm game, baby. How many N-words do you need? Mayo monkey, vanilla gorilla, cream cracker, cream cricket, whatever you want. What do you call a white guy named Kunta Kinte? Whipped cream, baby. Like, what do you need? What do you need me to say? How bad does it have to be to get the rule taken down? I'll say whatever. I will be offensive. I can do that for you. But yeah, we talked about it a little bit, and then discussions kind of fizzled out. I don't know if they found someone in Minnesota, but I think I've got to be damn near the most offensive lawyer in Minnesota. I'm happy to carry that fucking mantle. So I don't know, but other circuits are going to have to rule on this before the Supreme Court's going to take it up. All right, so here we go. Back to this. Lawyer representing Pennsylvania's state attorney disciplinary board did not immediately respond to a request for comment. And imagine being this cuck. Fuck off. You're representing your lords, your masters. Ugh. Greenberg said in court papers that the rule made him uncomfortable to speak freely on sensitive topics like race, citing law professors who have received complaints and others who have lost their jobs. But that is due to the, quote, social climate, not Pennsylvania's anti-harassment rule, the panel said. I disagree. I disagree. The rule itself creates the complaints and the complaints go to the ethics board, but whatever. Ruling is a victory for Pennsylvania's attorney disciplinary board, which first adopted the rule in 2020. This rule's only been in effect for 3 years. Why do you think they adopted it in 2020? Adolphin Hortler says, I just wish you were half as funny as you think you are. I don't think I'm funny, dude. I think I'm offensive. Never said anything about funny. I laugh at me, but I'm an idiot. And they later amended it after Greenberg filed his initial lawsuit. An amended version of the rule was struck down as unconstitutional by U.S. District Judge Chad Kenney in March of 2022. After Kenney's decision, the board hired veteran appellate advocate Lisa Blatt.
I just need you to be black and a female.
She's not black, though. She's not black. She looks like Ginsburg when Ginsburg was only 80. Hired veteran appellate advocate Lisa Blatt of Williams and Connolly to argue against Greenberg at the Third Circuit. The Pennsylvania rule attracted support from the American Bar Association and other bar groups. It was opposed by conservative religious and civil rights groups that argued it was ripe for abuse. In a short concurrence, Judge Thomas Ambro, what up, Ambro, said Pennsylvania's anti-harassment rule could be struck down as unconstitutional in the future by a lawyer who can establish standing to challenge it. He advised that the state could preemptively amend its anti-harassment rule by narrowing its scope. And this is the case, right? No one's been punished by this rule. And this is why I'm not necessarily the best candidate in Minnesota, because I haven't been punished. The ethics board's always ruled in my favor. But chilling speech is still chilling speech. And the looming sword of Damocles over the day they don't agree with me is real. Law school is 3.5 years for me, because I started off part-time, switched to full-time. Full-time is 3 years, part-time's 4. 3.5 years of my life traveling away from my wife and children while we added to our family significantly during the time. I think we had 3 kids while I was in law school. 3.5 years. And what? It's like $100,000 to do it. It's very fucking expensive. Not to mention all the incidental expense of having to go to school and the meals and the books and all that stuff. It's a massive investment for someone, and the ability to pull their license away from them. To me is unconscionable that that's a thing that exists, especially just because some fat retard on the internet got offended. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what it is. That's the threat. It's the Tess Holiday. It's the Lizzo. It's the someone you didn't praise enough for being fat and beautiful. It's the person who you mocked with a disability. It's the person that you said something that they perceived as racist, no matter what the facts are. That's the person that'll get you disciplined, because an attorney isn't going to sit there in court being like, they're not going to Mark Richards it up, right? Like, they're not going to sit there and just drop the N-bomb all over the place. Like, judge, the other parties that, like, they're not going to do that. That's not real. It'll happen if they have a mental break or something. Like Chris Hook, he said a bunch of very funny things by email, and it pissed off the judge. But it's like, so first of all, I didn't think anything he said was untoward. Those other lawyers were bitches, and they knew they weren't actually offended. This is the real thing. Lawyers are not really offendable in reality. They pretend to be offended for the purposes of their client. And so they acted offended. They acted like Chris Hook was like, he's threatening to kill me. It's like, you know, he's not going to kill you, dummy. You know, it's fake. Stop it. He's just waving his dick at you because he knows he won. That's what he was doing. But they pretend, and they get him in trouble for speech or whatever. But that's the person you got to worry about, is the person on Twitter, terminally online, finds something you say and decides it's offensive. By the way, fuck them. Those people deserve all the hatred that they can receive. Tyler Reeves. Oh wait, we read that. Jesus Davila says, Nick, can you give a toast to chat, but in Kermit voice? Yeah. Here you go. Ricada Law chat rooms out there, both on Rumble and YouTube. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope nothing but the best for you. And if you do get raped, I hope you liked it at least. Cheers. All right, here we go. What we're going to do, it's time. It's Rumble time, baby. It is fucking Rumble time. And we're going to do that. We're going to do the Rumble thing, but we're going to read the chats that are out there that I missed on YouTube, and then we'll head over to Rumble. By the way, thank you so much for the support on YouTube. Oh shit, we have a Rumble rant that I have missed and want to grab here. We have several, but in the $20 category. Bill Dixon, 1957. I worked as a correctional officer a long time ago. People would ask how I could do that. I would just say, they're just people. They are. The good COs actually do recognize the humanity of inmates. And it's a weird thing when you work with criminals as a defense attorney, and let's not beat around the bush. Most of the people who are charged and are out there, the majority are guilty. Going to trial, the overwhelming majority are guilty. But you know, most people settle out. Even not guilty people do settle out. But you're dealing with guilty people. They've done something bad, usually terrible. If it's above a petty offense, it's a bad thing. Theft, assault, whatever. But you also realize it's a person. They had a shit day a lot of times. Now, some people are broken upstairs. You know, like, oh, I mean, this person's not really safe. But a lot of people are just people. They got in a bad circumstance. They got in a bad situation. They had a bad string of days, and they snapped, and they did something that they probably wouldn't do again. And under any other circumstances, they wouldn't have done it. And you talk to them, you're like, oh, you're just a people. You're not a maniacal person. You're just a person. It's something you can talk about all day, but you can't really explain it to someone. You have to experience it. And correctional officers get that in droves. You treat people well as a correctional officer. You treat the prisoners with respect and humanity, and they'll do the same. If you're a big asshole, like, then they're not going to treat you with respect. Someone says, why do you hate us? Jay Cornman, I don't. I love you guys. What are you talking about? Let them watch your kids. Look, I don't let most people watch my kids. What? Why would I do that? Most people I treat with humanity do not watch my kids. Very limited people do. Mario Carter 13, Nick, I don't cut ties with people. I let them cut ties with me. Also, Nick, Kiwi Farms is being mean to me, so I don't want to talk to Josh anymore. I never said I don't want to talk to Josh anymore. What the fuck are you talking about? Don't put words in my mouth, faggot. I did not say that. I actually like Josh a ton. And I'm going to talk about this in a funny way because it's funny to me. I'm not mad at Josh at all. And this is ultimately the problem that I was trying to communicate to Josh. So yeah, I definitely, I would talk to Josh today. Like I'd talk to Josh any day. This is such a fucking weird thing that people do this. Like that people do this. And unfortunately, the person who did this most recently is Josh. He completely misunderstood a conversation that I had with him. And it was about him misunderstanding conversations with people who aren't autistic. That's an overgeneralization. But seriously, that's what I was talking to him about. And he took it wrong. And when I told, like in the conversation, when I would tell him, no, I'm not trying to do this. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. He still misunderstood. He didn't believe me. It's like, I can't fix that, man. And again, I don't cut off Josh. I talk to him every day. I'm like surprised that he would talk about a private conversation on his show, but it just goes to exactly what I was trying to talk to him about. And we'll get to that topic. But don't put words in my mouth. I'm like, the fuck are you talking? I don't want to talk to Josh anymore. I never said that. Don't believe it. Don't feel it. I don't know if someone else said that, but that's on them. So you can be mad that your internet dad or whatever came up with that, or that is you're imputing that on me, but it's not true. I have no anger or malice towards Josh at all. And this is the issue. People decide you're mad when you're not, when you're online. And you can't correct them. You can't change their minds. Like, in fact, the guy who I'm saying this to right now is probably going, nope, you're lying. Sorry, buddy. I don't know what to say. I can't help you with that. But I can tell you that Josh misrepresented the conversation, but I don't think it was malicious. I think he's genuinely confused, and that's what I got from hearing him talk about it. So I don't know. But I love him in the gayest way possible. And that's it. But we'll get to that topic. Well, you got to wait till the end, brother. That's where we're going to get there. I got to be, adequately drunk. So you know that when I'm not like screaming in anger, that like I would be if I was actually mad because I'm drunk. Let's see. Alyssa K read that one. Elephant says Nick freed Peach on Camelot stream. Yep. Elephant also says these dang kids. I say that. I love those kids though. Obviously, they're super fun. The handkerchief 26 says handkerchief 26. Ricada Law becomes Ricada Dad. We're here for it. May your family be blessed, Nick. I was Ricada Dad long before Ricada Law. Before I went to law school, I was a dad, and there is no more important job in the world. And sometimes people get frustrated when like my dad stuff runs against my show stuff. My dad stuff will always, always, always take priority over. There's only one thing in my life that will take priority over my dad stuff, and that's my husband's stuff. And my dad explained this to me a long time ago. And he's right. This is very wise. And for for men and women, I think you should really, really take this advice to heart. I think this was in the context, if I remember right, of my mom misunderstanding, misinterpreting, or just disagreeing. I don't remember. And I thought it was unfair. Disagreeing with me. My mom disagreed with me, and my dad backed her up. I was talking to him privately, and I said, Dad, this was not fair. Mom's got this wrong. And he said, I don't care if mom is right or wrong. I chose to be with her. I choose every day to be with her. She's my wife. She's my partner, and I chose her. You are given to me. I don't have a choice. You're my son. I love you unconditionally, but I always prioritize. I will always prioritize and be in alignment with the person I chose to be with, because that's the choice. So I will always choose to side with my wife over my children, because that is what a partner does. And I got it. I understand that. Now, does that mean that my dad agrees with my mom on everything? My mom and I don't have disagreements anymore. Like, I was a broody teenager, right? And she was probably right at the end of the day. We don't have disagreements over this, but my dad and my mom have a fantastic relationship. It's amazing. They're such simps for each other, and they're wildly different in so many ways. My dad's very chill and relaxed. My mom is the biggest extrovert on the planet, and it can drive my dad nuts because she'll carry on conversations for hours when he's like, I just want to go home and watch baseball. But they choose each other every day. They're the model for me. They're the model for how marriage works, because I've watched it work now for 42 years, something like 42, 43 years, something like that. And I took that advice to heart, though, because he may not agree with her, but he's going to support her. He's going to have her back. And some people might say, well, that's irrational. What if the kid is right? Well, too fucking bad if the kid is right. You can even acknowledge that the kid is right. Say, hey, we're united because we are a partner. We are a team. We're united. And that's the way it's got to be. So my husband stuff will always take priority. My dad's stuff is a very close second, because I think if you don't have that partnership, if you don't have that teamwork, you're destined to fail, even when it comes to your kids. Probably especially when it comes to your kids. If you look at custody battles and how they go, that is a breakdown of the partnership, not a breakdown of the parent-child relationships. So very, 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 very critical. Okay. Mothership says, need an attorney for Appeal Minnesota recommendations. I can send you the case number. It's going to highly depend on what the case is about, but yeah, send it to me and an email or whatever. And I will get back to you. Just put in all caps from Super Chat or whatever. John Ruck says, did you ever get the alcohol after the sprinkler? Yes, I did, but it was such bad alcohol. I didn't care that I got it. I did go retrieve it. I didn't put it out for like a kid to find or whatever. I went and grabbed it after my computer ran out of batteries, and I left it for the housekeeping staff. So fucking gross. Iron Smoke, I think it was called Iron Smoke, or Iron Skull or something whiskey. Ugh. Ellie Fan says, oh my God, Lady R took the color-coded poster digital. Oh, the calendar? Yeah, it's a disaster. Vinny Clortho says, how is anime not porn? Well, not all anime involves any nudity or sex, so I'm not sure. Pony Up says, the infringement of transaction will only change when Rashida Tlaib says something about Israel and then bitches about having her accounts frozen. She won't, though. She's an acceptable anti-Jew. Vince Clortho, Blue Moon tonight. Oh, really? Cool. Fuck, it's late. Oh shit, it's the 30th. It was the 30th today. Now it's the 31st. This year's gone flying by. Flying by. Two Eye Strung says, I hope somebody streams your stand-up, you shyster. We read that one. Cedar Rose, a toast, please, to my job. Find out work is not extending my contract. We'll be out of a job soon. On the upside, I've avoided taking their DEI course. Well, to the Queen Elbow, Cedar Rose. Let's do a little toast. Let's do that. Every year seems to fly by. I don't know, man. This one's gone really fast. I'm like, we're already back to school. Cedar, a cheers to you and the ripping of your job. May it rest in pieces. And may you rest in the peace that you probably didn't want to hang around with those fucking losers anyway. If they're going to impose restrictions on how you interact and mandatory sensitivity trainings from the outset, prior to you doing anything wrong, that's not a place you want to be. May your new job search, your quest for reemployment, be swift, fruitful, and profitable beyond your imagination. Cheers. All right. Vince Clortho says, seen DUI guy in court. What have you done on cam? Minnesota does not typically record and publish courtroom procedures, but I make no bones about it. I've never had to take a case to jury trial. We've always settled out. I've argued plenty of motion hearings and stuff like that, but to my knowledge, none of them are on camera that are available. I've never had to pull one. I think I could request one if I had a relevant reason, like in a subsequent case, but we've never had to do that. So Minnesota does have cameras in their courtroom. Most of their stuff is done by audio recorded sessions that can be transcribed later if necessary. They don't pay a transcriber in the courtroom. You can have them transcribed and delivered to you. But I've never had to do that. But there'd be not too many, right? I was not a super active litigator, never claimed to be, never wanted to be, would much rather take like the guaranteed money of contracts and shit like that. I liked fighting the government as a defense attorney, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's a weird responsibility having someone's freedom in your hands. And it always made me a little uncomfortable. Also, most criminal defendants don't have any fucking money. So I'd much rather represent businesses on contract drafting, review, negotiation, shit like that. Way, way more profitable than the criminal law stuff. The criminal law stuff was a fun hobby, but they don't have any, like meth dealers don't have money. Or well, meth consumers don't. Meth dealers do, meth consumers don't. All right, here we go. We've got Ellie Fan says Nick's gonna bomb on stage. True. Me 04120 says if Vito can do stand up at a funeral and crush it, it'll be super embarrassing if you bomb, Nick. Oh, I can do stand up at a funeral. That's easy. Vince Clortho says, Nick, seriously, the Houston Anime Convention was weird. I can see LawTube attending a tech show, but little girls dressing up like Japanese schoolgirls is just sick. I didn't see any children dressing up as Japanese schoolgirls. Maybe you did. The anime convention, I mean, it's anime, bro. Like it's a thing. It's a subculture and it is weird. Absolutely. People don't understand why, like, why YouTube people are brought to an anime convention. They're like, they're not talking about anime. It's to bring in an audience of people that wouldn't otherwise go to an anime convention, but might actually like anime. Like, I like anime, but I can watch Berserk or whatever, but I don't want to go to a fucking anime convention with a bunch of weebs. And then you see a YouTuber that you like, me, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic or whatever. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I'd like to go meet them. You walk around the show, they like it or they don't like it. They get exposed to it, to this convention atmosphere, and maybe they enjoy it. I think a lot of people do. But again, I didn't see any quote unquote little girls dressing up like Japanese schoolgirls. I actually didn't see much risque cosplay at all. Some years I've seen way more. And usually the person in risque cosplay is 400 pounds and it's horrifying. But I don't know. What? I can't tell you what you saw, but I didn't see it. I don't know. Let's see. Just saying, you advertise yourself as an attorney, but don't have a case. I have several cases under my belt. Like, I've represented several people in court. We've just never had to go to trial because we settle out or have the case dismissed. I don't know, man. And again, do you guys know that most attorneys don't go to trial ever? Like the majority of attorneys aren't litigators, right? Like there are research attorneys. There are attorneys who assist on cases. That's not like a weird thing. I don't know. I did private individual practice. Part of it was criminal defense. The biggest part of it was contract drafting and review, negotiations. I would review and negotiate commercial rent agreements because commercial rent agreements are often by an experienced party that owns several properties and an inexperienced party that is renting one. Lots of times for the first time, they don't know that they can negotiate shit away. But when you look at them and let's say it's a building, like a retail space building for like 5 different businesses. And in these contracts, they will put in there that if any HVAC in the entire building goes out, that the tenant of one stall is individually liable for the replacement of an entire HVAC system. This could be $100,000, right? So you're someone who's renting $1,000 of retail space to open a flower boutique or whatever. And the HVAC unit goes out in the next business over, and you've signed a contract that says you're liable for all of it because it's 70 pages and you don't read legalese. That's the type of shit I would fix for people. Negotiate the contract. Most people don't know you can negotiate. But yeah, I like doing that because businesses pay. Criminal defendants typically don't have any money. And I did lots of cases for free or for extremely reduced rates because they're just fucking wrong. But hey, that's the rub. But I don't represent myself otherwise in any capacity. Never have I been. I'm an experienced trial attorney. I do it. You will not find me once saying it. I correct it anytime someone brings it up. But again, like, you don't have to listen to my commentary or agree with it. You can say I'm a dumb fucking idiot. I don't care. I just want to make you laugh. That's at the end of the day. That's what I want to do. Vince Corden says, Nick, all super chat $50 if you can get my mugshot. I was asleep at the time. How do I don't know your real name. And he also sent a super sticker. Plus, I'm not looking for a mugshot right now. We would do that. We would do that. We were going to go to Rumble. That's the end of the YouTube chats. Thank you very much for everybody who sends a super chat on any platform. I really appreciate it. We're going to pop over to Rumble. I might have to go take a piss. But we're going to pop over to Rumble. I'll see you in just a moment. Make sure to like the stream on your way out if you like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. But on Rumble and YouTube, it really fucking helps. Both of them. So please go ahead and click that. I keep meaning to say that earlier in the show, and I keep forgetting because I hate the fucking beg thing. Please do the thing. But it really helps, and it demonstrably better results if you ask for it. So please like the show. And I appreciate every single viewer who's been with me for years and years and years, or even a minute. And if you've only been with me for a minute, let me just say this. Fag. Jeremiah Dick Fitzwell says, and the nuts aren't bad either. Nailed it. All right, guys, we're going to play a little short stinger for Rumble. I'll see you over there. I love you. I respect you. And we'll see you back tomorrow with Ty Beard if you don't follow us to Rumble. But the link is in the pinned chat. It's in the description as well. Make sure you come hang out. Peace. Peace.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen,